All right, welcome to the call, those of you tuning in live, and then especially to the many more of you that are watching this on the replay. I am Jim Larson. I am coming to you live right now from Virginia over on the East Coast. I live right between DC and Richmond in the Fredericksburg area. I've been with Symmetry for about 3.5, going on 4 years now. And really, my story starts January of 2020. I came here, thought it was the hardest thing in the world, didn't like anything about it. I lasted 4 months and I quit. And then I sat on the sidelines for a couple of years. Came back January of 2022 and was one of the fastest to the top of the company in their history. I'm a senior vice president now with the company and equity partner at the top contract level. And I love welcoming new agents because I recognize that every single one of you has it in you to either walk the road of finding this is hard and quitting, or walking the road of getting to the top of this thing and doing and achieving and becoming more than you ever knew possible or even knew to give yourself credit for. So I love this call for that reason. I don't want any of you to quit. My goal in this is to give you everything you need to get off to the strongest possible start so that you can turn this into something that you really, really are proud of and excited for. So let me go ahead. I'm going to share my screen here, and we are going to dive right into our new agent guide. I mentioned I'm Jim Larson. I own the Larson Life Group under the Symmetry Financial Group umbrella. Leadership in this agency consists of myself, Kelly Bush, also top contract level regional agency director and elite producer. Directors, Jill Johnson, Joe Anderson. They are agency directors, top producers. Our agency owners, Christina Watts, Emily Bartz, Amber Pearson, Anna Safavi, and Tara Owens. Amber is also a top producer. And this list is growing all the time. There's a solid chance that by the time you are watching this on replay, we have more people in ownership and we've got more people moving up in levels of leadership, which is a reflection of the strength and stability of the business and agency that they are building. I introduce you to everybody because you're going to see them on stages. You're going to see them in calls. You're going to see them on group messaging platforms. And when you see these faces and these names, I want you to know that they sort of know what they're talking about. All right, let's dive right on in. I recognize that you are drinking from a fire hose. And my goal on this call is just to make this as easy as possible. And I recognize you're drinking from a fire hose, whether you are brand new to the industry, you are going through pre-licensing, you are drinking from a fire hose with language you've never heard, concepts you've never heard, trying to remember stuff that is just completely foreign to you to this point. Or whether you've been in the industry for a decade or more already, you're just coming from someplace else. And the culture here is different and the tools and resources here are different. In either case, there's going to be a lot to learn. You're going to have a lot coming at you. And so my goal is to slow this down and make it as easy as possible. We do one thing here. And we are obsessed with that one thing, and we do it really, really well. We protect families' financial futures from their worst possible scenario. That is all we do. That is what we are obsessed about. That is what we are excited about. Every single tool and resource we're going to put in front of you exists to help you do this one thing. So if you're ever confused about how a resource helps you do this, just put your hand up and ask. Whether it's a new contract with a new life insurance company, whether it's a new policy with a life insurance company, a new back office, a new CRM, a new lead source, there are going to be lots of things to learn, lots of websites, lots of stuff, but it all serves one purpose. And this industry turned out millionaires before any of these tools existed. So these tools are there to help you. They are there to serve you. You are not there to serve them. So again, if you're ever confused about how any particular item serves this one purpose, just put your hand up and ask. This is Your first goal, first step. Some of you have not done these items yet. In that case, just take a screenshot of this. You need to pass the exam, get your license, apply to Symmetry, and then get contracted with the different life insurance companies. Nothing happens without that. So take this screenshot so you can have that in your back pocket. The rest of this is going to assume that's already done. So feel free to hang in here if you haven't done these things, just to get an idea of what's upcoming. If you've already done these things, then I'm going to lay out the path for you. One of my favorite books written by Gary Keller is called The One Thing. He makes an argument in The One Thing that success is sequential, as in follows a sequence, not simultaneous. What he means by that is success is going to be found by focusing the best of your energy on one thing, getting really good at it, then moving to the next thing, then moving to the next thing, rather than spreading yourself thin and trying to do all of these things simultaneously. I think so often we learn to not give ourselves credit for our ability because we don't recognize our ability. We spread ourselves so thin and we end up walking away thinking, I haven't done much, I haven't achieved much, therefore I'm not capable of much. And that's never been true. You've just never harnessed and focused the best of you into one thing to see what you're truly capable of. He makes this argument that anything in life is going to require a laser focus of the best of you. And that's how I'm going to treat the onboarding and really the growth journey of your life insurance story as a sequence of challenges. In fact, I'm going to call it the 4 sequential challenges of mastery. You're going to have 4 challenges, and they're going to follow a sequence. You're going to have to master one before you move on to the next one. So I'm going to introduce you to these 4 sequences. And if you try to bite off more than you can chew, if you try to do it all at one time, if you get impatient and go for all of it, you're going to be fighting simultaneously, and you're going to get frustrated because you're not making progress. I want you to make progress. So these challenges look like this. Your first challenge is going to be mastering your schedule. Your second challenge is going to be mastering the learning curve. Your third one is mastering production. And then the final one, like if you're playing video games, the final boss is mastering leadership. Now I put a line between the top 3 and the bottom one. And I put that line there on purpose because I need you to understand with all of those top 3, there's a threshold of time that you arbitrarily in your mind are going to call worth it. And if you don't master that thing within that time frame, you're going to end up quitting. Here's what I mean. If you don't master your schedule and 6 months from now, you still haven't figured out where to find time to do this, you're going to decide this isn't worth it. It's too hard. If you've mastered your schedule, but you're stuck in the learning curve, and you're not having fun and you're not making money 6 months from now, you're going to decide it isn't worth it. If you're through the learning curve and you're just fighting to master production, you're making some sales, but you're not really profitable, you're not really earning a living. If you're there in a year and a half, you're going to decide this isn't worth it. And so each one of these has a completely arbitrary sense of urgency that's different for each person. I don't know what your level of grit is. I don't know your work ethic. I don't know how strong your ability is to show up and master something before you decide it's not worth it. When I was vetting Symmetry the first time, I asked one of the biggest leaders, Jacob Pogue, in this company, I asked him, I can see the success stories. I can watch the people walking on stages and hear about their income. I want to know what the average agent does here, just trying to set the right expectations. He looked at me so clear-eyed and he goes, Jim, the average agent quits. And in my time here, I've learned that to be the case. Most people do quit. But I can understand why. And what really happens is their arbitrary timeline runs out before they've mastered this. I don't want your timeline to run out. I want you to have a sense of urgency. And here's the good thing is you have a really strong influence in how long it takes you to get through these things. You're not at their mercy, they're at yours. If you hit this hard, you can master these things really, really quickly. But there are going to be two keys that are going to be required. One is extreme ownership. Successful people don't wait on anyone. They diagnose problems and they leverage resources to solve them. They are not waiting for someone else to solve their problems. They are not waiting for someone else to tell them what to do. They are not waiting for anyone else. Successful people take ownership. The second key successful people have here is abundant participation. They become and embed themselves as part of the fabric of our community. They're asking and answering questions. They're on training calls like this one with their camera on, engaged in the comments. They know people here and they're known by people. They introduce themselves. They become part of the fabric of the community. Those two keys are vital. I have never seen somebody hit their goals here without possessing both of these. Some people will come with extreme ownership, highly entrepreneurial. They know how to work for themselves and how to hold themselves accountable. But without the abundant participation, they are missing out on their greatest resource here, and they end up quitting. I've seen other people with the abundant participation, but they're missing the extreme ownership. So they're on all the calls. They're part of the fabric of their community, but they're not getting results. They're not moving forward. They're waiting for some external thing to come save them and push them and drive their business. It takes both keys, both. Extreme ownership and abundant participation are going to be the two keys that unlock the doors of each of these challenges. So let's dig in and talk about your first challenge. Your first challenge, your very first, right now, day one, your first challenge is going to be mastering your schedule. And you're going to do this with a sense of urgency, or you're going to end up quitting. The goal in this challenge is to develop a rhythm of consistently showing up for your business in the right ways without reminders. That's the goal. The goal is to develop this rhythm. It becomes part of your routine, part of your fabric, part of your schedule. You don't need reminders. You don't need someone reminding you. You don't need a boss over your shoulder. You are showing up for work without reminders. Now, what are the challenges going to be? The challenges are the fact that you've got competing priorities. This is not the only hat you wear in your life. A lot of you are parents. A lot of you have other jobs, other hobbies, other responsibilities, other things. There's going to be stuff in your calendars. Every one of you, I'm talking to you right now, you have filled all 24 hours of every day of your entire life to this point not doing symmetry things. So if you're all of a sudden going to start selling life insurance, any time you spend on this is necessarily going to have to come at the cost of something you would otherwise be doing. What is that? What are the sacrifices you're going to make? You're going to deal with distractions. You're going to deal with a lack of motivation. You're going to deal with procrastination. You're going to question the necessity, not just of training calls, of every single thing your mentor tells you to do. Do I really need to go tune into these training calls? Do I really have to do this? Do I really have to use this script? And you're going to face the challenge of inconsistency. You're going to show up for a couple days, and then because you're not built, it's not a habit yet, you're going to disappear for a couple days. And when you're in that season of inconsistency, distractions, lack of motivation, it's really difficult to gain any momentum or move forward. You're going to have to master this, and you're going to have to master this quickly, or you're going to end up quitting. If you're even 3 months into this thing and you're still inconsistent, distracted, lacking motivation, you not knowing how or when or where to show up, you're not going to stay here. I want you to stay here. And I want you to recognize that if you're still showing up inconsistently, you haven't mastered this. If you still need reminders on when the calls are and what calls to tune into, or the fact that they're important, you haven't mastered this. You're not ready to move on. If you're unsure what you should be doing, you haven't mastered this. If you're working alone and you're not leveraging the abundant participation, you haven't mastered this. If you're in any of these places, you have not mastered your schedule. And I know every one of you, you came here to make money. You came here to make an impact. You came here for meaningful work. And so you're going to want to put the cart before the horse. You're going to get impatient, want simultaneous, and you're going to say, I want to get to production. I want to get to sales. I want to start doing great. You can make all the money you want here. But if you don't learn how to master your schedule, we can't even have a conversation about sales scripts. I need to know that you know how to show up and show up consistently. The good thing is, you can master this quickly. Those of you coming in full time, your time is open. You should be able to master this in a week. And then we can start talking about the learning curve. But again, you've got to master this and master this quickly. What does it look like once you've done it? It looks like you are on at least 2 training calls per week with your camera on, engaged in the comments. It looks like you are making a minimum of 300 outbound dials to leads every week. It looks like you are meeting with, not setting 10 appointments, but meeting with 10 families via Zoom, via phone, in person, irrelevant, but you are meeting with 10 families each week to have the life insurance conversation. You are logging into the Mac Room. The Mac Room is our virtual office. In the absence of having a physical office where we can rub elbows at the water cooler, hey, how was your weekend? How are the kids? The Mac Room, in the absence of that, because we all work virtually, the Mac Room is our virtual office. The Mac Room is where we go to work together. I've got it up on the side here. I can look up right now as we're doing this. There are 31 agents in the Mac Room. All of us have our cameras on. I can't hear anybody. Everyone's dialing. They're doing their own thing, but they're doing it together. They're engaging in the comments. I can look up and I can say, Maura's still in here. Mark is in here. Daryl's in here. Rachel's in here. Patrick's in here. Tay's in here. Ken's in here. Marcy's in here. I can look up and I can see my people are working. I'm going to work alongside my people. Get in there so you can find your people that you're working alongside, so you're not just doing this by yourself. This season looks like, when you've done it, when you've mastered your schedule, it looks like you're obsessing a little bit. You're anxious to get going into that learning curve. You're starting to think about this even when you're not working this. So you've lined up your schedule, you wear other hats, you do other things, but you're going to catch yourself even when you're doing other things thinking about this. Those are the people that have mastered this part. The people who put this down, just walk away, they're probably not quite ready yet, because learning a new skill requires a season of obsession to learn a new skill. And you're going to do all this stuff without reminders. When you're there, you have mastered this. Now you're ready for the next phase. How fast can you do this? How fast can you literally open up your calendar, block off your time so you know exactly when you're working and how you're showing up? I don't want you to get stuck here for long. You don't want you to get stuck here for long. All right. Now, once you've mastered that schedule, you move on to the learning curve. Congratulations, we're following a sequence here, right? And you're going to master the learning curve or you're going to quit. So, what is the goal here? The goal in this challenge is to become competent, not necessarily good yet, but competent with the sales process, the workflow, the dialing, the setting appointments, locking them down, the scripts, the objections, actual sales, running sales appointments, the reporting processes, and how we report the business that we write. This is the goal. You're going to become competent in these areas. And what does it look like? What are the challenges you face? Well, you're going to have to make 1,000 outbound dials in this season. 1,000. That's going to get you comfortable with the phone. That's going to make the phone feel light. For some of you guys, that phone is going to feel really heavy at first. You're going to feel like, I'm incompetent. I don't know what to say. The state gave me a license. I don't feel like a life insurance agent. What if they ask me a question? I don't know. For some of you, that phone's going to feel really heavy. You're going to overthink every dial. By the time you've done 1,000, you're not going to be overthinking it anymore. You're going to be picking it up. It's going to be light. It's going to be easy. The learning curve looks like running, not setting, running 20 appointments. By the time you've done that, you're going to be very comfortable with the sales process, how to prepare for an appointment, how to set up the need, how to set up the need as a problem to present your policy proposal as a solution. You're going to deal with finding a lead budget. There is nothing worse for any salesperson than not knowing who to talk to and having nobody to talk to. We have leads. You're going to want to find a budget for those leads. I'm going to recommend spending $250 every week on leads for your first 6 weeks while you get through this learning curve so you have people to dial and practice. You're going to be managing this emotional roller coaster of, I am so scared to dial. I did it and I didn't die. I set 10 appointments. This is the best thing. Oh, nobody showed up. This is so hard. I made a sale. Oh, it got declined. You're going to ride an emotional roller coaster in this season. You're going to have to learn how to handle disappointment when you set appointments and they don't show, when you write applications and they don't approve. You're going to have to learn to handle disappointment. You're going to have to choose curiosity. It is very easy when you're new in the learning curve to think you have it going on and all of this is new, so you're judging it. You've got it on a short leash and you're very critical. Do these scripts really work? Do these leads really work? Does my mentor really know what they're talking about? Do they really know how to get me to my goals? And so you're going to naturally be critical. But the people who are successful choose curiosity. Instead of asking, do the leads work? They recognize, they look at the leaderboards, they know they work. So they're like, how can I make the leads work for me? How can I get this script to work for me? How can I practice my tone? How can I practice my pace? How can I learn to recognize that this truly is just a skill set I haven't mastered and not a magic cauldron that if I just say the right words in the right order and cast a spell, I'm going to get the sale? That's what people come in thinking. They come in thinking that if they just say the right words in the script, it's going to happen. There is so much communication that happens between you and that client that is nonverbal, with your tone, with your pace. So much of that is practiced and learned over time. And you're going to be tempted to judge the script right out of the gate. Choose curiosity. You're going to deal with the stress of working for free. For a lot of you coming here, you came from a W-2 job. You've worked W-2 jobs your whole life where you got paid the minute you clocked in. You walked in the door, hit that clock, you started getting paid just to show up. In this world, in the 1099 world, in the entrepreneurial world, nobody pays you just for showing up. You get paid for value add, you get paid for results. Now, you're going to learn that that is good news because it is completely uncapped what you can earn, because your value isn't tied to a task anymore and it's not tied to time anymore. You can get really good at this and you can condense it and help a lot of people in a small amount of time and skyrocket your earning potential. But at first, you're going to deal with the stress of working for free. I don't want you there long. I want to get you making money as fast as possible, which is why there's a sense of urgency in mastering and getting through this learning curve. You don't want to stay in this learning curve for a long time. This is also the season where you're establishing your ratios. I'll go through those in a minute here, but your ratios. How many of these 1,000 dials actually got someone on the other end of the phone? Of the people you talked to, how many did you actually set appointments with? Of the appointments you set, how many did you actually run? Of the appointments you ran, how many sales did you make? Of the sales you made, which is an application you submitted to an insurance company, how many of those got approved and paid and issued? These are all ratios. In the learning curve, you're establishing your ratios. Your ratios probably won't be good, but you're learning what they are. Okay? Now, if you have not yet made 1,000 dials, you have not mastered the learning curve. If you have not yet run 20 appointments, you've not mastered the learning curve. If you haven't sold 6 policies, you've not mastered the learning curve. If you're confused by funnel, our CRM, if that's still overwhelming and you don't know how to leverage that as a tool, you're still in the learning curve. If you're scared to buy leads because you don't trust yourself to actually close them and you don't see them as an investment, you see them as a cost and a liability, you're still in the learning curve. If you get mad, critical, frustrated easily, and that emotional roller coaster has you, you're still in the learning curve. This is a no judgment zone. I just want you to have radical self-awareness to see if you've not done these things. This is just where you are. It doesn't mean you failed. It doesn't mean I'm angry. I have no emotion in this. I just want you to see that this is where you are. If you've not done these things, then you're just still in the learning curve, which is great. Let's go get through the learning curve so that we can move on to mastering production. Once you're through the learning curve, when you've done it, it looks like you've made 6 sales to leads. You've seen this process through a few times. Lead spend isn't scary to you. You're willing to spend money on leads because you see that you're going to get a return greater than the spend. You're going to be proficient with our CRM. You're going to be confident with the script. You're going to start asking for more challenge. You're going to be working digital leads, which are ads placed on all the socials, Google SEO, podcasts, YouTube, and people responding, I need life insurance. You're going to be working these leads. This is when you've done these things. This is when you've mastered the learning curve. Until you've done these things, you're still in the learning curve. Once you've mastered the learning curve, you're ready to go master production. Again, you have a lot of influence on how long you're there. Can you master your schedule in a week? Can you master this learning curve in a month? It's August 1 right now. I'm recording this. It's August 1. Okay. Some of you are going to be through the learning curve by September. Others of you, it's going to be February and you're not through the learning curve. Which do you want to be? See, I've seen so often the people that do not get through that learning curve quickly, the people that are still struggling with their schedule, still struggling with the learning curve months from now, they quit. They quit. I don't want you to quit. How fast can you master this? And once you do, now we get to talk about mastering production. And the goal here in this one is to actually get good at sales. You got competent with it in the learning curve. Now we're going to pour gas on that fire. We're going to get good at this, and we're going to put you in a place where you can reverse engineer those ratios I talk about to go make whatever money you want to make. This is where you want to be. Mastering production is where you want to be. That's the goal. When you come here and you're like, I want to make this kind of money, good. This is where you do that, but it doesn't happen until you've mastered your schedule, and it doesn't happen until you've mastered the learning curve. But once you've done those two things, and you can get those done in a month. Once you've done those two things, you can come here to mastering production. Make whatever money you want. Now, what does this season look like? It looks like tightening those ratios, tightening them, getting to at least average. When you were establishing those ratios, maybe you set 10 appointments and only 1 or 2 showed up. Well, we're going to tighten that. So now 5 or 6 or 7 are showing up, right? We're in a season of tightening these ratios. Maybe you sat with 10 people and only made 1 or 2 sales. We're going to tighten that through your skill set. So now you're getting 5 or 6 sales out of that. In this season, you're going to have to deal with boom and bust seasons. You're going to sell $10,000 in a single week, put $8,000 in your pocket and be like, I'm the king of the world in 1 week. And then you're going to go 3 weeks without making any sales. And you're going to wonder, what happened? How did I get so bad at this so fast? You're in boom bust seasons while you're learning this. It's going to look like maximizing contacts and networks, not just looking at, I got 1 lead, I sold 1 lead. It's going to be like, I connected with 1 person. Who else does that person know that I can help? Who do I know that I can help? We're going to start turning 1 appointment into 4 appointments to really, really maximize our reach, our database. It's going to look like embracing mentorship, hitting roadblocks and being on the phone with your mentor, really, really pressing into what skill sets do I need to develop to tighten these ratios. It's going to look like MAC, massive action constant correction. That's why we call it the MAC room, that virtual office. Massive action constant correction. You're going to be making 1,000 dials a week and then constantly correcting what you're learning so that you can get better and better and more efficient and make more money in less time and help more people in less time. Hungry dogs run faster in this season. You're going to start seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. You're making some money. You're going to start seeing you can make a lot of money. And so you're going to start running, because this is where, when you get through that learning curve, you start to see the light at the end of the tunnel. You're starting to have fun. This is starting to click. You're like, if I can get this to really click, you're starting to see that hope. So you're running. When you're still stuck and you don't know how to show up yet in your schedule, when you're still stuck in the learning curve and you are not even like competent in this, it seems so far away. Making money seems and feels so far away. That's why people quit when they don't get through those things. But once you're through that and you get here, you get a taste of what it starts to feel like. Again, it's boom bust while you're struggling through it and you want to get to the other end of mastering this. So it's boom, 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 not boom bust. But here, hungry dogs run faster because you're starting to see that this is happening for you. Now, if you're through the learning curve, but your results are still boom and bust, you haven't mastered production yet. If you're below average on any of those ratios, you haven't mastered production yet. If you're not getting referrals and turning one appointment into multiple appointments, you have not mastered production yet. If your warm market, your friends and family are still off limits, you don't want to talk to them, you don't want them knowing what you're doing, you haven't mastered production. See, mastering production, you start to think of yourself and identify as a life insurance agent. You start wanting to put yourself in the position of helping your network, helping anybody, just helping people. So if your friends and family happen to be in the market for life insurance, they probably want to work with someone they know, like, and trust. Why wouldn't that be you? Why, if they are in the market for life insurance, would you want them picking up the phone, answering a lead, and getting somebody random when you're right here to help them? If you're unwilling to talk to them, no judgment, you just have not mastered this phase yet. If you're not on leaderboards every week consistently, you haven't mastered this yet. If you're not making 10 grand a month, you haven't mastered this yet. What does mastering this look like? It looks like reverse engineering your ratios. So if you think, I want to make 20 grand this month, okay, based on my issue rate of applications submitted to policies issued, if I want to make this much, I need to submit this many policies. If I'm going to submit this many, I need to sit with this many appointments. If I'm going to sit with this many appointments, I need to set this many. If I'm going to set this many, I need to make this many phone calls. If I'm going to make this many phone calls, right? You see how they like this? It just reverse engineers because you're consistent and you have a large data set and sample size to draw conclusions from. It's going to look like maximizing lead spend. It's going to look like you trust yourself so much to close business and to connect with people that you're going to spend as much as you can that you have the time to close. We've got people who spend $2,000 a week because they know they're going to turn it into 12 grand. Some people don't have the time to work those leads responsibly, so maybe they're going to spend $500 a week, but you're going to maximize whatever lead spend you can where you're going to have the time to responsibly honor that investment and convert that into money. It's going to look like embracing that referral philosophy so that you're getting multiple appointments from one appointment. It's going to look like, as I mentioned, identifying as a life insurance agent, seeing yourself in this light, wanting to help people because you can. You're going to start seeing success as for you. When you've mastered this, you're going to see the success stories on the stage, and you're not going to be thinking, oh, that's for the select few. You're going to start being like, man, next year, that's me. You're going to see all these carrier trips. The insurance companies, they know that you've got options on where you're going to go. They want your business. To earn your business, they're going to have incentive trips, 5-star trips all over the world. You're going to start, once you've mastered production, being like, I think I want to go on that one. Italy sounds great that time of year. I would love for me and a guest to be flown, staying in a 5-star place for free. You're going to start seeing that as for you, achievable for you, not just for other people. It's going to look like making 10K a month rhythmically, easily in 30 hours a week. That's what this mastering production looks like. You want to work 50 hours a week? Great. You'll be making 20K a month. At the end of this part, you write your ticket. You make whatever you want to make. It is magical. But again, you can't get here until you've mastered your schedule, and you can't get here until you've mastered the learning curve, and you can't get here until you've mastered production. There's a sequence to this stuff. And once you've mastered production and you're making whatever you want to make, now we move on to this next phase where we master leadership. The goal here in this phase is to get your eyes off yourself and start seeing the big picture and how you can help and bless and invest in others and their goals and dreams. See, every one of you came here like I came here. I had goals for myself. I had goals for my family. I had to get out of debt. My back was against the wall. When I came in here in January of 22, I came back. Remember, I quit once. I came back in January of 22. I had 6 months of money in my savings account. I had a family of 5 to feed, a stay-at-home wife. I did not come here with the luxury of seeing if this was going to work. This had to work. My back was against the wall. You can't dream when you're drowning. You can't help other people when you're drowning. And so you come here with your eyes on yourself. I've got goals. I've got to get stuff done. By the time you've mastered production, that dust settles. The pressure's off. You see the ability to pay off whatever you want to pay off, to go on whatever vacation you want to go on, to buy whatever you want to buy. The pressure's off. Some people stay there, and that's great. Others decide they're going to start embracing leadership. And that looks like taking your eyes off yourself because you now are settled with your feet on solid ground. So how can you bless and help and invest in others and their goals and dreams? What does this season look like? It looks like taking ownership of everything in your life. Really maximizing that extreme ownership key. Once you take responsibility for everything, for your relationships, for your finances, for your health, for your business, once you take responsibility for everything, you have the power to change anything. When people get stuck, they get stuck because they see circumstances outside of themselves as bigger and stronger than them. I can't help it. I can't help it. I'm too busy. I'm too this. These big things outside of me, they're in control of me, and I'm just drifting along with it. When that stops, that's what this season is. That stops, and you take ownership of everything. You stop making excuses. You embrace personal growth. You embrace it. You start choosing hard things just because they're hard, just because it's going to challenge you, just because you're going to be proud of yourself on the other, just because it's going to require you to be grittier, stronger, wiser, better. You're going to start choosing hard things in your life just because they're hard, because you've learned to like the challenge. And you're proud of who you are on the other end of completing hard things. Nobody was ever proud of themselves for doing something easy. It's only in the hard, when we rise to the occasion, that we learn what we're capable of. This season looks like seeing opportunity for others, realizing the freedom that exists here, the professional independence that exists here, the income freedom that exists here. And it looks like wanting that for other people. It looks like recognizing the gap versus the gain, the gap being the distance between where you are now and where you want to be, and feeling like that is so far away. You're never going to get there. You're sinking in debt. You're in this really hard place. Your goals, your dreams, they're just dreams. You have no plan to get there. And you see that gap, and that's hard. In this season, you learn to see the gain. You look the other direction behind you, and you realize how far you've come in the last 3 months, how far you've come in the last 6 months. You realize that you might have a long distance to go, but you're making progress, and you start giving yourself grace. You start giving yourself credit for the progress you're making, instead of just beating yourself up for the distance you haven't yet gone. That's what this season looks like. And I'm going to tell you, if you're not building, as in you're not bringing other people into this, you haven't mastered leadership yet. You're still in this process. If you're still worried about you, you haven't mastered leadership. Leadership is only about servanthood. If your goals are still you focused, you haven't mastered leadership. If you see other people just as a benefit to you, if that client is a paycheck to you, if that new agent is an override paycheck to you, if that person, that agent on your team hitting a level of leadership helps you promote in a level of leadership, and you see that person as what they can give you, you have not mastered leadership yet. If the same stuff is hard, if the same stuff that's hard for you now was hard for you 6 months ago, you haven't mastered leadership. You should be able to look backwards and you should say, man, that used to be hard. That's not hard anymore. See, I've embraced personal growth. I've embraced choosing hard things. The stuff that's hard for me now, these are new challenges, because if I look back in 6 months, this was hard, and 6 months before that, it was hard, and 6 months before that, it was hard. If it just stays hard, you're not growing. You want to make sure that you are evolving and growing, and the stuff that used to be hard isn't hard anymore. If you're still in the field, still writing policies, not because you love it, but because you got to pay bills, you haven't mastered leadership. Because leadership, what comes with mastering leadership is passive income. Passive income comes with leadership. Impact beyond business comes with mastering leadership. When you've mastered leadership, you are making an impact beyond business, because people are going to come to you as your eyes are off of yourself and onto others. People are going to come to you, and they're going to come with goals, with dreams, with hopes for legacy, but they're coming to you with these hopes simultaneously with insecurity, with limiting beliefs. They're coming to you, having never done that, desperate for more. And they're going to lay this on the table, and they're going to say, show me how to use life insurance as a vehicle to get me where I want to go. And you're going to walk them through this process. You're going to show them what you know. You're going to plug them into all the resources. And little by little, they're going to show up, and they're going to do it, and they're going to start making money, and they're going to start paying off debt. And by nature of doing this hard thing and overcoming the challenge, you know what happens? They start to get proud of themselves. And when one man can look in the mirror and be proud of himself because he showed up, he took the challenge, he's paid off that debt, his family has hope for a future now. When for so many years they had no idea how they were going to get forward, how they were going to move forward. Now they can see. They might not even be there yet, but they can see it. And he's proud of himself. One man looks in the mirror, proud of himself. He's going to show up for his family differently. When one woman looks in the mirror and she's proud of herself, she's going to show up for her family differently. And the impact that you make in leadership goes far beyond just helping people learn sales scripts and making sales. It's the beautiful part of this. Mastering this also comes with ownership. You own an agency that you can leave for your family. You own an agency that you can will, that you can sell, that you can gift. You've created legacy. And then money to you, money just becomes a byproduct of helping people. The more people I help, the more money I happen to make. But money is no longer the goal. Serving people is the goal. Helping people is the goal. Helping you get from where you are to where you want to be, that's my goal. I expect I'm going to make money by helping you do that. And you're going to appreciate that, and we're going to have a lot of fun together. That's my goal, because money is just a byproduct of helping people. And you're going to start seeing it that way. So let's talk about exactly where to start now. This is what your journey looks like. Those are your 4 challenges. But right now, you've got to master that schedule. So you're going to decide ahead of time when you're working each week. For my wife and I, we sat down every Sunday. We mapped out our week. Every Sunday. You're going to want to attend at least 2 training calls. When is that happening? They're about an hour each. When is that happening? I'll show you the website where you can find the available ones, map out exactly which 2 you're going to attend each week. They could be different ones each week. For my money, brand new, I'm tuning into the top producer call in the Mac room on Tuesday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern. That's the one I would tune into, plus one other. 10 hours of dialing at a minimum. When are you finding that time? Where is that in your schedule? 7 hours for appointments, 1 hour for personal development, reading, meditating, growing. This is a 20-hour part-time week. But this better be mapped out in your calendar exactly when this is happening if you're going to master your schedule. Looks like making that 1,000 dials in your first 2 weeks, running 20 appointments in a month. Remember, this is mastering the learning curve piece of this. You got to decide ahead of time when you're working, master your schedule, get right into the learning curve. 1,000 dials in your first 2 weeks, 20 appointments in your first month. You're going to say, but I don't even know where to start. I'm going to start dialing. You've got one job as a new agent, and that's just to set appointments. Making outbound dials isn't to make sales. It's just to set appointments. And the cool thing is when you're new and you got to run those 20 appointments, it doesn't matter who those appointments are with. Those appointments could be with leads. They could be with your spouse. They could be with your great Aunt Millie. It could be with someone you met at the gas station. It could be with associates from other jobs, acquaintances. It doesn't matter. You're just going to set appointments. And then in order to set appointments, you need two parts. You need their pre-qualifying data, which I'll show you in a second, and you need an agreed upon time to reconnect. An appointment requires both of these things. Without their pre-qualifying data, you don't have an appointment. Without an agreed upon time to reconnect, you don't have an appointment. It requires both of those. So even if I have a neighbor that comes to me and says, hey, Jim, my wife and I need life insurance, great, I'm happy to help. Here's the info I need, and when can we get back on the phone? Two things. Now, here is the data you need. You need their date of birth. You need their medical info. You need their smoking status. You need their height and weight. You can find this in a client qualification form in HQ. But this is the information you need if you're going to set that appointment. And then once you set that appointment, you go to your mentor and you're like, hey, Cree, I've got 4 appointments set for tomorrow. Here's the first one. Guy's born 7/11/81, high blood pressure, doesn't smoke, 5'11", 220. Where do I go with him? And you're going to be like, and Cree's going to be like, all right, Kevin, in this case, you're going to go with this company and this policy, and here's why. And then you're going to dig into that company and that policy, pull up the agent guide, become an expert in that. Now you're ready for that appointment. See, at first, all you do is set them. That abundant participation, the team comes in to help you get ready for them. You want to track your data. Remember, in that learning curve, you're establishing ratios. What do I mean by data? This is what I mean. There's a ratio between dials to answers. There's a ratio between answers to appointment set, appointments run, applications. You'll see apps a lot. Applications submitted to policies issued. You want to track this so you can see what ratios are average, what are not average, and what skill sets we have to learn, we have to work on to get through the mastering production phase. Winning at anything in life, guys, not just life insurance sales. Winning requires surrounding yourself with others who are winning at what you want to win at. If I want to get good at golf, I need to surround myself with people who are good at golf, who think golf, talk golf, troubleshoot golf, go to the driving range for fun, actually get out and golf. I got to surround myself with these people if I'm going to get good at golf. I can't just get some clubs, go to my garage and just swing it around and hope to get better. This is that abundant participation piece. If I want to get fit, I need to surround myself with people who are fit, who think fit, talk fit, live fit, eat fit. If you want to get good at life insurance sales, surround yourself with people who are good at life insurance sales. Don't even make it harder than that. This is why I talk about that virtual workroom, that office, the Mac room. It's why I have you on calls with your camera on, being part of the community, an abundant participation with the community. This is a seasoned agents' numbers, working leads where they are the first response to that lead. In 300 outbound dials, they might talk to 60 people. 60 people, they might set 20 appointments. 20 appointments set, 10 appointments actually run. Half of them didn't even show. Of the 10 appointments run, they submit 5 applications, sold half of them. Of the 5 applications, 4 policies issued. It's going to put $3,000 in their pocket as a new agent. $3,000 as a seasoned agent, that's going to probably put $4,000 in their pocket. Do you want that to be 1 week, 3 days, 3 months? See, this is where you don't get paid to show up. You get paid for your results. And this can be whatever workflow you want this to be on, whatever timeline you want this to be on. If I was starting today, right now, if I was starting today, I would get on the accountability call. It runs about 30 to 45 minutes every morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. And yes, we have lots of people on the Pacific Coast 3 hours earlier at 6 a.m. their time, tuning in every single day. See, they've mastered their schedule. They know when to show up. I would be on that every day, Monday through Friday. If I was starting today, knowing that I have the potential to quit or I have the potential to hit the top of the company. If I know both of those potentials exist and I don't want to quit, I want to do something big for my family. I'm telling you what I would be doing. I would get on that accountability call every day, Monday through Friday, without fail. I would be on the top producer call on Tuesday. I would get on the national call and then additionally one of the team calls. I would get a whiteboard with 20 slots, and as fast as I could, I would fill those 20 slots with appointments that I'm actually running. I would let every empty line on that haunt me until I filled it. I would walk into my office or my workspace every day, stare at those empty lines and be like, who am I filling that with? And that would be my goal and my job that day, is filling those lines with appointments I am running. I would make 1,000 dials in my first 2 weeks, maybe 1 week if I was hungry. Hungry dogs run faster. If I was hungry to win, I'd make 1,000 dials in my first 2 weeks. It blows my mind how often people tell me they're hungry. They've been here 6 months and they have not yet cumulatively made 1,000 dials. And we've got agents that do that in a single week. This is why people quit, man. They never master their schedule. They never master the learning curve. They don't master production. Look at it as in a sequence. Hit it as hard as you need to hit it. I would pick up the book Fanatical Prospecting by Jeb Blunt, hands down the best sales book I have ever read. I would pick that up and I would pound through that as fast as I could. I would introduce myself to everyone. I would get in that Mac room in the comments. Hey guys, brand new here, really excited. Where would you recommend I start? Hey guys, I'm new here. I made 100 dials. I feel a little bit stuck. People aren't answering. What would you do? I'd introduce myself to people. I'd start plugging in. If you need help, larsonlifegroup.com/help. Group Me. It's a group messaging app. Every one of you should be on it. And there's a group, SFG, Symmetry Financial Group, first 90 days. All the info in there is designed to help coach people in their first 90 days. HQ, once you get your Symmetry welcome email, HQ is your corporate back office. They've got a support page, FAQs, and a link to submit a ticket if your issue isn't featured there. If you need training calls, I talk a lot about getting on training calls. The schedule I run is right here, larsonlifegroup.com/call schedule. We've got calls every day. I don't need you to tune into all of them. But what would I recommend? Again, if I was starting today, that accountability call Monday through Friday would be non-negotiable for me. The national call and then one team call. Probably that top producer call also. I would know I'm new. I'm hungry. I got to learn this stuff. I would embrace that aggressively. But that's not going to happen if I've not mastered my schedule. All of our replays for all this stuff is on YouTube, at Larson Life Group on YouTube. You can pull it all up there. Even that accountability group that we do, that call Monday through Friday, it's in a playlist on YouTube called High Challenge, High Accountability. I am genuinely excited for you. I'm excited for the reasons that brought you here. I'm excited for the potential that you've got in front of you here. I'm a resource in your corner. I can't wait to meet you. I can't wait to hear your goals. I'm excited to work with you. But I can't give you this warning strong enough. Within you right now, you have the power to hit the top of this company, create a legacy, master leadership, own an agency, make an impact beyond business with passive income. You also, within you, have the potential to just go back to old habits and find this is too hard, not master anything, and quit. Your first challenge in a sequence. Don't take on more than you can chew. Don't put the cart before the horse. Your first challenge is to master your schedule. That's your first challenge. How fast can you do that? Can't wait to hear it. Bye.